So now we want to move on to talk about measuring money. To begin with, we want to define the symbols of the money, and then we want to talk about what is inside this monetary aggregate. So to begin with, we look at the first symbol, that is C, which is representing currency, which are the coins and the fiat money that we use nowadays. And it has the notation C, and we can draw it as a small triangle to your right hand side. Then we can include more items inside our measuring money, which can be the demand deposit or the checking deposit. So we define the notation M1 as the adding up of the currency and the demand deposit. Therefore, the size or the quantity of the M1 includes the C. And then the next symbol that we want to talk about is M2, which is about M1 adding up the less money-like assets, which is more like, for example, the saving deposit, the small-term deposit, or the real money market mutual fund. Based on this definition, you will know that the M2 is larger than M1, and it should include both the M1 and the C. Finally, the last symbol that we want to talk about is called M3. It is M2 plus the institutional money market balance or the large time deposit. And so based on this definition, you will know that the M3 includes not only the currency, the demand deposit, also the last money-like assets, and the institutional money market balance or the large time deposit. Therefore, in terms of the liquidity, we will find that the currency is more liquid than M1, than M2, than M3. That is because the liquidity is talking about how easy we can use this money as a means of payment. So if it is cash in hand, you can just go to the market and then buy the goods that you want. If it is M1, which includes the demand deposit, you can just simply use your ATM card, your debit card to buy goods. So then even though that it is in the bank, but you can still use that if you have the ATM card. If you do not have the ATM card, you can go to the ATM machine, withdraw the money, then go pay the goods that you buy in the market. Therefore, M1 is less liquid than the currency. Moreover, when we are talking about the M2, which is about the saving deposit or the small time deposit, because it is a time deposit, so you cannot just withdraw the money from the bank under the saving account. That is because that when it is a saving account, a lot of time it will be, or the time deposit. So when we are talking about the time deposit, then it means that you just sign a contract with the bank, says that you want to have the deposit, for example, for 3 months or a year. So then if you want to use the money in your time deposit, you probably need to liquidate that with some penalty. And so M2 is less liquid than M1. Finally, the M3 is the institutional money market mutual fund balance or the large time deposit. And because the liquidation for those funds is more difficult than the time deposit, than the demand deposit, therefore it is the less liquid money type. On the contrary, when we are talking about the quantity, we say that the M3 is greater than M2, greater than M1, and greater than currency. And that is because, by the definition, M3 includes M2, M1, and C, so it is the largest. M2 includes the M1 and C, so M2 is the second largest. Finally, M1 is less than M2 and currency is less than M1 because M1 includes the currency and some others. So the size of M1 is greater than currency. So that is how we measure the money. In our discussion, we want to have an exercise to talk about that when we have a change in mind of someone's behavior, that they prefer to move their money from the demand deposit to the saving deposit, and how will that affect the size of money? And we will talk about that in the discussion session.